Welcome back to, it's week 3 now of the Valencia Marathon training block. So these weeks are flying by. I've had 2 really positive weeks. So I started off with a 46-mile week, then last week was a 54-mile week. So things are going well. I've been hitting the sessions that I want to and in a really good place, with 8 weeks to go now until Valencia Marathon. Could be 8, could be 9. Either way, it's creeping up fast. So far this week, I've been out and done a 10-mile easy run last night, Monday night, which I've been taking that approach for Mondays, that if I can get out twice, I'll do that to get some extra mileage. But if not, I've been trying to get a 10-mile run in nice and easy in the evening, just to build up the mileage really and build that aerobic base. And it does get me psychologically, if I start the week on 10 plus miles on a Monday, I'm not then having to find miles later in the week. So it's been a really good start to the week. So a little bit about today's session. It is a Tuesday, which normally means that I'll be at the track, but I've a bit tighter on time today, so I've decided to do the session around my loop that I normally do a tempo on, which is a 1-mile loop near my house. So it's going to be a little bit different, but I am going to be focusing on a little bit more marathon specific. So I've gone for an 8x4 minute session with 60 seconds jog recovery, and it's going to be a continuous run of 40 minutes. So it's again probably closer towards the tempo session that I'm doing. So my tempo session on Thursday is not going to be too dissimilar from this, except that it'll be a totally continuous run at that tempo and probably around the 40-minute mark. So back to tonight, I'm looking at the 4-minute reps and probably looking at somewhere between 6:15 to 6:30 would be a reasonable rough pace target. I'm still going to look to do that, and then the 60 seconds really just take the pressure out my legs and jog it in, because doing 8 is quite a high volume session. It'll be 32 minutes worth of effort, and yeah, let's see how we get on. So probably going to roll into it in another 30 seconds or so. That's rep 1 done, so first 4 minutes done, and that was about 6:26, so I'm looking at about a K in those 4 minutes, which is not too bad. Feeling pretty comfortable. So we'll see how the next one goes in about 8 seconds. So that's rep number 3 done. I think that was just over 6:30, so hanging in there around that pace. I'll try and hold it for the next one. Will be halfway after number 4. That's rep 5 done now. Starting to slow down a little bit, but there's only 3 to go, so a good psychological boost. I'm more than halfway through the session now. That's number 7 down now, so just got the 1 to do. I'm hitting that 6:35 pace per mile, which isn't too bad. Pretty pleased with how this session's gone so far. Let's leave it all out on the last one. So that is now the session done, finished 8x4 minutes, which were a little bit slower pace than I would have done at the track. Probably looking at just over 6-minute miles on the track, but taking the different surfaces into account and the fact that I'm doing a little bit more volume on these reps as well, it's probably why I've gone a little bit slower. I purposely wanted to set off a bit slower, and I have made just over 6:30 per mile average, which is again that target marathon pace. So to do that in a session and still feel pretty good on a continuous run. I was only having 60 seconds jog and then sort of straight back into it, so that's been pretty much a 40-minute continuous run, which is, as midweek sessions go, a pretty good one. Quite a lot of volume in there, and really specific towards a marathon that I'm aiming for. So another one ticked off. We go again in the next session. Welcome back. So you're now joining me on Friday night's run. So quick catch up of where we've got to so far this week. So left on Tuesday night, we did that interval session, and to report on Wednesday, not a lot. I took that as a rest day. I was in the office this Wednesday rather than a Tuesday, so I didn't have as much time and decided to just have it as a full rest day rather than going for a short recovery run in between my two sessions there. So the next session that I did was Thursday night, and that's Thursday night means I have a tempo session, and I've been building this tempo up from 3 mile tempo up to this week. I attempted the 6 mile tempo, and my pace target, the method behind this is I've been trying to run at around 6:30s if I can, which is my intended marathon pace, to then build this up to a longer distance tempo, probably somewhere in the region of 8 to 10 miles by the end of marathon training. But I want to be able to lock it in at that 6:30 pace. So this session I completed the 6 miles this week, yet the pace had to suffer a little bit. I knew I wasn't really feeling well enough or fit enough this week to knock out 6:30 minute miles for a 6 mile run. Probably could if it was race day. I mean, I ran a 5 mile at 6:20s, but I'm not doing that midweek. Yeah, just not doing that just off a session really. So I did do about 6:45s on Thursday night, which wasn't too bad. It's still under sub pre-pace and probably a good indication of where I'm at the moment. So this week has really just been one of those weeks where I've not really been 100% at it. Sort of week 3 into marathon training now, but it's a case of just, I've said what my plan is, I've got my structure, I've just got to turn up and do it. So if I turn up and do the sessions, even if they're not executed to sort of 10 out of 10, I'd give myself probably 7s or 8s this week out of 10 for my sessions, but it's still better than not going at all, and those building blocks will count towards a good result in the marathon. And looking ahead slightly to this weekend, so I had a pretty good long run last weekend, so I'm a bit buoyed and confident by that really. I did 18 miles last weekend at a decent pace, so this weekend I'm going to try and up that to 20 miles, so we'll see how we go on there. Good morning, and you are joining me on my long run on Saturday morning. Yeah, I did just say that, I'm doing a long run on a Saturday. I will go home and wash my mouth out when I get home, as it's usually reserved for a Sunday in most runners' calendar. So the reason I'm doing it on a Saturday this week is simply the schedule just works a bit better. In all honesty, I can do my long run on either a Saturday or a Sunday at the weekend with my current schedule. And the other reason is that this morning is absolutely glorious weather-wise if you're a runner. So got bright blue sky, no wind, and the temperatures somewhere between 5 and 10 degrees, which pretty much might be what it's like in Valencia, maybe a bit warmer. I'm now coming up for just under 10 miles, so we're about halfway of this 20 miler that I'm doing this morning. So I'm currently at a place called Rangemore, which isn't too far from St George's Park, the training centre for all of the England national football teams. So it's a nice little spot up here, and something that's not too far from us in Burton. So in terms of my route today, I know from doing the plan that most of the hills are in the first half, so it's quite a hilly route with about 750 foot of climbing, but I've done quite a lot of that. So the main hills were about mile 5 or 6, so I just trudged up them and made sure I took it pretty easy, but without it being a bit of a struggle. And I know now that I've just got the one hill at just coming out of Takenhill to go, so there's a little bit of a climb up there. Then I know after that, around I'd say 12-13 miles, it's going to be pretty flat, so from there I can look to probably progress that last 6 or 7 miles down and do a quicker last half of the run than the first, which in running terms is a negative split. So I'm just going through the half marathon distance now, so 13.1 miles in 1:42 today. So given what we said about the hills on the course, it's 4 minutes slower than we did on a bit flatter course last week, and we were pushing the pace a little bit more. So yeah, pretty pleased with that, and I know the hills have all gone now, so I'll try and drop it down a little bit on the flats. So that is the 20 miler in the bag. That is the first 20 miler I've done really since London Marathon back in April, so really pleased with getting that one ticked off, and also really encouraged by how it felt as well. So that felt pretty comfortable, like I was saying, even with those hills in the first 13-14 miles, which then enabled me to kick down in the second half. So I've had a little bit less time on my feet than I was probably thinking going into halfway. So going through 10 miles, did this in 1:18, and I've done the whole run in just under 2:32 total time on feet. So I did drop down to 1:14 for that second half, second 10 miles, which is about 7:20 pace. So really encouraged by that. Great run. Let's go enjoy the rest of the weekend, having a long run in the bank early doors Saturday morning. It's now time to have a quick recap of this week's training. So all in all, it's another week ticked off, and a mileage of 51 miles for this week. So slightly down on the 54 miles of the previous week. And this was because I had 2 days off running rather than running every day in the last week. So to get to the 51 miles, I did a 20-mile long run, which went really well. So I can take a lot of positives from the long run. And I still did manage my 2 structured sessions within the week. So the interval session on a Tuesday and that tempo on the Thursday, with all the rest of the runs being easy running in between. So a good week, another one ticked off, 3 weeks down, and it's just 8 weeks to go until Valencia Marathon now. So if you did enjoy this video, please think about hitting the subscribe button to be notified of future videos, and I'll see you in the next one.